Hello, everyone. This is Matt Adams from the Fearless Entrepreneur Podcast. Welcome to this week's episode where we're going to be discussing transitioning from the home office to the home office. So, welcome to our latest episode of the Fearless Entrepreneur Podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about this transition. Obviously, many of us have been doing this long before the quarantine was in place, but it's relatively new for some businesses. But now that your business has grown, so has the logistical complexity, I would imagine, of your daily operations. I'm your host, Matt Adams, and joining me today is my co-host, Matt Byrne, and Mike Lunt. Mike is actually going to be behind the camera, pushing buttons and trying to make us sound as good as possible. We are three business owners based in Dublin, Ohio, with a wide range of business experience, as well as an equally different business ventures that we're on different paths. So let's bring in Matt Byrne. Matt, how's quarantine life treating you these days?
It's a challenge on a daily basis, but thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to interviewing our guests and trying to figure out ways to stay safe and stay productive while working out of your home office. So thanks for putting this together, Matt.
It's no problem. Actually, if you could probably tell here, I'm actually at the office, which I think is probably the safest place for me to be, considering my house is running wild with distance e-learners, toddlers, and probably the safest spot is for me to be right here at the office.
Yeah, same for me. We're in employee benefits and insurance products are essential services, but there's no one else at my office except for myself. And I joke that the lowest population density for me is here in my office, where my house is full of people. But anyway, I'm staying safe. Hope everyone else is as well, and looking forward to sharing some of the things we've learned along the way about dealing with COVID and different challenges businesses are facing with working from home and distance telecommuting and things of that nature. So looking forward to talking to our guests today.
Yeah. So before we get started, let me thank today's sponsor, Metro Data Center, for providing us this 1 gigabyte of blended internet. Be sure to check out their website at www.metrodatacenter.com. And also a new sponsor to the show, the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center, known locally here as the Deck, and you can check them out online at www.deckindublin.com. So for our discussion today, I wanted to bring on a show, an IT expert, to help answer some of our questions, maybe your questions as well, but to also educate us on how we can better protect our businesses. Linear One Technologies, they're an IT, MSP, telephony, ISP, fiber provider. That is a mouthful. That offers full-scale business continuity and disaster recovery, along with cybersecurity and cloud hosting. Now, I've known and worked with the owner and CEO, Scott Verbus, of Linear One for many years now, and probably better describe his business as the peace of mind experts. Scott, welcome to the Fearless Entrepreneur.
Hey, thanks guys for having me on. Very, very honored to be on with you guys and Matt and Mike behind the buttons there.
It's really the best place for him, because every time he talks, Matt's going to make fun of his accent. So it's probably better.
It goes to 11. That's a reoccurring joke in the Fearless Entrepreneur Podcast.
Just make it 10. There's no need for 11.
All right. So, Scott, let me just jump right in here. I got to ask you, I just saw in the news, it was just a couple of days ago, with Zoom conference call. Everybody is on Zoom. In fact, my team, we've gone to Zoom conference calls. Much to their own dismay, we do 3 calls a day, but it's been great. We've been communicating, but there's been some security issues. Can you elaborate on that? Can you talk about what's going on there?
Yeah, Zoom had a really neat business model in that you didn't have to have a already existing account with them like you do some others. People are able to spin that up pretty quickly and move to using Zoom. It's got a really interesting interface. It's very intuitive, but the inherent danger came when people were running a lot of these meetings from their home networks that don't have the level of security that they have at their office or at their office building provides them. Because a lot of my clients, we've got additional firewalls in their system that the building itself may actually offer as well. And so it's redundant, which is good. You can never have you can never have too much when it comes to cybersecurity. So Zoom was really the folks that got the real bad rap. It wasn't any fault of Zoom, really. They did a few security faults, but it was more of the fact that people just jumped on Zoom because it was the most noted and the most familiar, and allowed people to get on and get their meetings going with their team and move forward. But unfortunately, they didn't have the security in place in their homes, and that's where the problem was. It wasn't really a problem with Zoom per se. We with Linear and a lot of my clients, we use Teams with Microsoft Office 365, and Teams, because of the way that you do have to have a secured Microsoft login, that a lot of times people can turn on two-factor authentication. It lessened the amount of, though I haven't actually heard of anybody that had any issues with Teams. AWS has a product called Chime. Chime, again, you have to have a secured login and authentication method, and so I haven't heard of anybody having any issues with that. So it was a thing of people had to get moving with meetings, and so they didn't have a choice but to go to Zoom. So
Yeah.
it's not really a problem of video conferencing being that's going to be. I don't want to. I don't really care for all the fear mongering that happened with it over the news. It was more of a people took advantage because they could.
Yeah. Yeah. So are we essentially getting all worked up about nothing? I mean, or are there things that we need to maybe be doing with our home networks that we can tidy up this security issues, or is it a non-issue?
Well, yeah. I mean, the Zoom has done some stuff on their end, from what I understand. I definitely don't mean to speak for Zoom. I don't want to get into those legalities, but they definitely did do some things on their end, and then they started to educate the people a little bit who were using their products, and some of the things that home users can do that aren't necessarily tech support guys like us who know to do it inherently, is to just have a fairly decent router. And when you have that router set up in your home, the documentation that comes with most all routers nowadays is very robust and very easy to follow. And the first thing it tells you is to change that default password that gets used from the factory. And that single thing is very, very useful in securing a home network. Now, somebody that has the network knowledge and everything, that if that's what they do and they are a hacker and they want in, there's a good chance that they still may. I don't believe in false security, but you can do a whole lot to stop that kind of stuff that Zoom had happen by just having a little bit of security with your home network with a router. It's a huge amount of security added right there.
Okay. All right. So now I've got. I don't know if this is true or not. I did have. I was talking with a colleague of mine, and they were talking about that they were going to take home their office phone, and plug it into their network, and that way they. I don't even know how this would work, but is that something that could be done? Is it advisable? Should we be thinking about that? Should we just be forwarding calls to our cell phones? What do you think?
Well, speaking from a very intimate level of knowledge with doing this, since we are a telecom company that specializes in VoIP technology, which is voice over IP. Yes, people can grab their desk phone and take it home. When you do that, you have to be mindful of how you plug it in, though. Some folks that we were trying to catch them before they did it, they were taking the phone home and they were plugging it directly into their cable modem. So, Spectrum comes in, and Spectrum puts in a cable modem in your home. They turn up your internet, and for normal everyday life, that's perfectly fine and you're perfectly safe. No one's going to be doing anything to your network or looking for anything on your network. But when you put a phone on that is continually pinging the network because it's always saying, "Hey, I'm here. I am ready for calls. I'm ready to take a call." The unfortunate folks in this world that enjoy, they get enjoyment out of making it life hell for the rest of us. We're running a program called Sit Vicious, and it grabs the phone and uses it for basically toll fraud, and it can rack up pretty quickly. And the single best thing you can do is to not plug it into the modem, but plug it into your router. That protects the phone from looking out onto the public network, onto Spectrum's network, and being, everybody kind of knows the term phishing in email. Well, it's kind of the same thing. These folks look for ports that are always on, and a phone dialing into home, which is, say my network, is going to be susceptible. And so we put documentation together really quickly, educated our users, and got everybody behind modems, or I'm sorry, behind a router. And when we haven't had any more issues with it. There's software out there also that can forward all your calls to your cell phone, and we've had a couple of clients that have done that as well. And another piece of software is called Soft Phone, and it's an application that runs on the computer that you can use with a simple headset with a boom mic, and it will make the phone calls for you and receive the phone calls as if it's a phone sitting in front of you, but it's on your laptop or on your desktop. And there's even a few of them out there that work on your cell phone, so that you're not calling clients from your private cell phone, and you can still have that number masked when you make a call over a data connection. You have to have a Wi-Fi connection for that phone, but I don't want to get too far into the weeds for the purpose of the podcast, but there are a lot of options to allow people to very effectively and usefully work from home.
Yeah, thanks for that, Scott. It's really important to kind of protect yourself and make sure as you're switching locations and office home bases that you're taking care of those things. I've been running into a lot of quality issues, or I've heard from my clients that they're, between the kids and all their tablets and iPhones and Zoom meetings with teachers. I was wondering if you had any feedback for why are sometimes when we try to work from home, sometimes we hear, packet loss, or, the fidelity of our calls aren't as high. Sometimes the speed of our browsers aren't as fast. Tell us what's going on there
Yeah.
and some of the ways that we can fix that.
Well, a lot of what you're seeing there is just the nationwide grid as a whole, as infrastructure as a whole, is very taxed, very, very quickly. Because everybody was kind of saying the joking on social media, wash your hands. Everybody's hoarding toilet paper, but all of a sudden, pretty much almost across the country, everybody went from working in the office to working at home. And that put a lot of undue stress on a lot of networks that were never really needed for what you're doing with it. And a good way to put that is a computer or a gaming system can recuperate very, very quickly when it comes to a packet loss. You very rarely do you see any issue or anything like that. When you go to spin up a browser, and it may take 4 to 5 seconds to load a website, that's effectively packet loss. It's either the connection to the website, or the website is slow, or something of that nature. With phones, they do not recover from packet loss very well at all. They almost always you'll hear the echo, where you hear yourself over and over again, or you get the chatter, or you get the dead space, where it's like somebody's freezing in time, and then the voice tries to catch up, and then it freezes again and makes a conversation, very, very difficult. That is exacerbated when you have a grid that is also having to deal with all the additional gaming devices. Because let's face it, gaming has reported a humongous uptick in daytime players on all of the systems that keep track of that, and kids on all their e-learning. My son is upstairs right now on his Chromebook and his laptop working with Google Classroom with all of his teachers, and that doing Google meetings and stuff like that. That eats up bandwidth. Optimization in a home network can work if you have the know-how or you have someone that you can log into your router if you have one, and you can set what's called quality of service, and you can tell it to give all the bandwidth and quality of service to your phone technology, not your gaming. And they all use very different ports, and the network equipment is smart enough to know that. So when you plug your phone into the back of that router and you have the quality of service turned on for that particular port, you're going to see a definite uptick in call quality and stability. Again, it's not something that the average everyday non-techie can do,
Right.
but there's a lot of there's a lot of Google information out there for it. You also have all of us IT guys at your disposal. I've done it for a number of my clients on their home network. We normally don't touch home networks, but we've had to make exceptions during this trying time to be able to have them up and working. So we've had to adapt the same as almost everybody else.
Yeah, I would imagine that being the case, and this is probably going to become the new normal, right? I mean, I think a lot of people are getting very used to working from home, and hey, I'm in a technology field and with marketing, and I'm kind of still old school that you got to be in the office. I want my team here to collaborate, but this has kind of forced me into a place of comfort working with my team remotely. I could see this kind of becoming a new normal for us, and that's probably going to be the case with a lot of industries. Um, so obviously, you're a business; you'll be adapting to that. Then I assume.
Yeah. When you say that, the people that own commercial real estate are probably shaking in their boots right now, because there's going to be probably a huge uptick in folks working from home, because a lot of companies that prior to that always thought, oh, it's too expensive, it's too complicated, my IT group will never support it. They are realizing that out of necessity they had to kind of break through those fear barriers, and we are able to support it once we get up our net. Once we've gotten our clients spun up at home and get the gremlins worked out of how they had their network set up prior, we haven't had to touch it, and that makes them realize that there is a lot of benefit to working from home. Now, I'm with you, Matt. I'm still old school like that, even though I own a cutting edge technology company. But I still like to be able to go and have a meeting once or twice a week with my team, and everybody's there and everybody's collaborative. And I think that adds a level of camaraderie that you never will get with a video call. But we also have clients that they got two people that live in the office and they have 30 that are out in the field that are already used to this. So I think you're going to see a big uptick in people working from home. And yes, IT companies such as mine are going to have to adapt and get better at and safer at supporting home networks.
Yeah, for my business, it's been huge. We're very telephonic in nature, and whether we be at home in our home office or actually physical at our place of employment or on the road visiting a client, using technology and presence management, where your cell phone can either serve as your desk phone. I can call a client right now from my cell phone using my voice over IP, and it will look like I'm calling them right from my desk. They can also call my desk and it'll come to my cell phone and I can answer it on the fly. Now, that's all contingent on good Wi-Fi and good technology and good partners like Scott Verbus at Linear One to make sure everything's working properly. But we helped over 100 small businesses get access to employee benefits last year, almost entirely by telephone. So the world's changing, and these types of things are forcing companies to get on board and see how these types of technologies and these remote working strategies might work for them. So it's pretty exciting.
We're
Well, guys,
in the process of. Oh, sorry, Matt.
no. Please go ahead. Continue.
I just want to say that building on what Matt was saying is we're looking at taking what models work for individuals like Matt over at Spiralite and allowing that to be packaged to be easier for the individuals who thought working remotely or purely from a phone was very difficult and hard to manage. We're taking those known good models and gonna package them so that they have a better marketing wrapper, so that they're easier for people to wrap their head around, that it actually can work for you as long as you have a good team and you have a good leader that can communicate. And that's what we've seen. The clients that were very easy to transition from from the office to home had really good communication with their employees, and that was huge.
So, all right, I'm, as you know, because you've been working with us, working for my company and doing different things for us, you know that if I can get into it, I can break it. So for others that are out there like me, calling, IT professionals, this is your chance. Give us your pitch. What could we do to reach out to you, Scott, to Linear One? What are some of the things that we should come prepared for in a conversation with you to help us out, maybe in our current situation? We've got to take care of our networking issues. We're not having our immediate needs. How can you solve our immediate needs, and then ultimately transition that to the once we're done with coronavirus and everything gets back to the new normal, how you'll be able to help us?
With the two big things we saw that people needed to have solutions for right off the bat when they went from office to home was, one, their telephony, and then two was actually access into their inside networks. And it was surprising the amount of folks that didn't want to set up VPN technology prior to all of this happening, and then all of a sudden they had no way for their people to get into their inside files. Everybody was used to coming into the office and having access there. And so what we can see happening as we move forward, and something that Linear is very good at doing, is cloud hosting and cloud support for moving servers and file storage and things like that into the cloud, where it's accessible as long as you have internet access. Now they're password protected, two-factor authentication, things like that. We can work with financial institutions, medical. We're HIPAA compliant and SOC 2 compliant. So we can move folks into and we're going to probably see a lot of that. There's going to be an exodus into the cloud, I think, after this, because people are going to notice that they got to be able to get to their data from in the office as well as from home or a Starbucks or an airport if they're traveling and they get stuck. So Linear is positioned nicely because we've got a really robust fiber optic based network. We do host some stuff in the Metro Data Center. As you guys know, my office is in the deck along with you guys, and that's not where I'm at today. I'm enjoying my corner office of the house, but it's going to see a lot of people that can go to linearit.net, and in there we've got a chat function that we monitor during normal business hours, as well as we've got a support request form on there that people can fill out. It comes to the team, and then we would need to know what you're trying to accomplish that is immediate versus what I'd like to have. So I always like to say wants versus needs. As long as you have those, we can figure out the rest.
I think that's a fair assessment. Matt, do you have anything before we try to maybe wrap this up for the day?
No, I think this has been really helpful and really good. I think that certainly Scott's mention of cloud computing and two-factor authentication, it kind of is a different solve than it used to be, right? A lot of server-based siloed technologies and applications living, you know, physically at a location, and cloud computing, while it does put everything in the cloud and makes it a lot more accessible, there's also a different set of security rules that need to be done properly and well to keep that data safe and easy to get. But I think that's it's all very promising, and getting partners like Scott to kind of show us the way is huge. So I think that's it. For me, I just feel like we're challenging ourselves and our businesses to grow and pivot and kind of look at new ways of doing business and new ways of accessing clients and new ways of allowing our employees to be productive. And that can be, a lot of these voice over internet phones have software management technologies where you can look at talk time and dials, inbound calls, outbound calls, very useful stuff when you're kind of measuring, for example, sales productivity or customer service, hold times and things like that. So the how you manage a technology centric company changes, but it's still possible. And I think it's pretty exciting to use and leverage some of these technologies to grow our businesses and not be stuck in the box of we all need to show up in the same brick and mortar thing we've always done. But I, like most people on this podcast, and certainly many of you listening, I think nothing will substitute what I remember a presenter had said to me at a conference down in Florida. He said there's something called the critical yard, and that's the 3 feet between you and me. It's really hard in the days of social distancing where we have to be 6 feet apart, where we're not really allowed to meet with our employees or our clients. But eventually, when things get back to normal, it's all about trying to create that connection in the 3 feet between you and me. But it doesn't mean that there's not a host of technologies that can help accelerate that pipeline and feed your business's ability to have those quality connections with your clients, your employees, and your partners. It just doesn't have to be 24/7 people sitting in desks and chairs at some office building. So that's my thoughts on it.
Thank you, Matt. So Scott, I guess we'll give you the last thought here. If there's any major takeaway, any tip, I know you're doing some exciting things there, maybe not quite ready for prime time yet, things you want to reveal in due time, maybe anything you want to talk about today, you feel free to mention it. But, if there's anything, one good takeaway as a business owner or as an IT professional that you'd like to share with our audience, love to hear it.
Yeah, we definitely have. We recently grew considerably, so we've got some things cooking. A few things got put on the back burner because we had to make sure we took care of what happened here. But one of the things we're going to be doing is we're going to definitely be looking really hard at the video phone technologies out there that can work with our already existing phone system. And it allows people to where they don't have to have a camera here on their phone or on their computer and an additional microphone over here, or go buy a special microphone here or there. It's all built into the phone that's already at your desk. They have 7-inch displays, stuff like that. So that's going to be one of the things we're going to really use to let people know that you can do this and you can still have interactions with your employees rather than just a phone call. And that's going to be fairly soon after all this is over, that we're going to try to get people to get educated on what direction we're going to go with that.
That's exciting. Well, Scott, thank you so much for joining us today. This is Scott Verbus from Linear One Technologies. And thank you also to our sponsors, Metro Data Center and the Dublin Entrepreneurial Center. It's Dublin Entrepreneurial Center. My office is here, I can't get it right. It's
I
the
know.
deck.
I do the same
Dublin.com. Try to spell entrepreneurial.
Right.
Finally, I think after 3 years of being here, I can spell it, I think. Folks, this podcast is available on Apple, Google Play, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, wherever else you get your podcasts. And we encourage you to hit that subscribe button to see and hear the latest episodes as they are released. Don't forget, please leave us a review. It helps us to reach other entrepreneurs like yourselves. So if you have a topic that you would like for us to address, discuss, or questions, do so in the comments below. Shoot us an email. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook at the Fearless Entrepreneur Podcast. And you can also read more about us on our website, thefearlessentrepreneur.podcast.com. That's all from us today. So until next time, folks, stay fearless.